Happy Earth Day, Anthony.
Happy birthday.
No, Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day.
There you go.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality. Hey, everybody. Happy Earth Day to one and all out there. That, Anthony Melchiori. So happy to see you today. I'm Glenn Hausman. Anthony, how are you, sir?
I'm very well, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing good. I got to tell you, Earth Day is one of those things that always sneaks up on me every single year. I don't know why that happens. Maybe I'm so focused on the other event that happened earlier this week on 420 that I forget about it. I celebrate too much and I forget what's going on 422 for Earth Day. I don't know. You tell me.
I got nothing. I got nothing.
Excellent. Well, I'm really excited to talk a little bit about Earth Day today. What a great thing that everybody rallies around the world to focus on helping our country. But before we get into that, our friends over at Castell Project, they're a nonprofit organization that helps women professionals. They partnered with our friends over at She Has a Deal, who's been on our show about real estate investment. They're a real estate investment platform for female investors. They're combining to create a great collaborative endeavor to help women and minorities reach leadership and ownership positions in the industry. That's exciting. This is something we're all kind of working towards helping, and it's glad to see that they are linking up to create such a great partnership.
So how do people find out if they want more information?
Well, go to novacancynews.com. The story's up there right now, but make sure you go to castellproject.com. That's castellproject.com, CASTELL project.com, or you could also go to shehasadeal.com and learn all about those things. So I think that's pretty awesome.
Here's something funny?
Yeah, what?
Our friend Mark Ergang?
Yeah.
So I literally didn't move from my chair after the podcast yesterday. I worked until about 7:30. And my friend, literally, as I looked down, I really wanted to have a drink. And I was like, he goes, "Hey, you want to go have a drink at the hotel?" I said, "Sure." So we went out to the hotel close to us. Mm-hmm. And I walk in, I'm sitting down with some friends I haven't seen in a year because we're all finally double vaccinated. And Mark Ergang is sitting there with a bunch of people from his company. Mark is a hotelier that's helping develop hotels near JFK. And
also president of the Long Island Hospitality Association, of which I'm a board member.
So I see him, so I pop up and I walk over to him and I make believe I'm the waiter. So I go, he doesn't see me. And I go, I'm behind him. I go, "Sir, can I get you a drink?" He goes, "No, I'm good." He doesn't look at me. He goes, "Sir, can I get you a drink?" He goes, "No, I'm good." I go, "Sir, you need a drink, don't you?" And finally he looks up at me. I was like, "You didn't even look the server in the eye? What's wrong with you?" So it's interesting. The reason I'm telling the story is because one of the people, like one person knew me from Hotel Impossible. A couple people knew me from Hotel Impossible. With another guy, "Oh no, you're the podcast guy." I'm like, "All right, I went from the hotel guy to the podcast guy." I like that.
That's really awesome. I love it, man. I am so happy how we've been able to really help people throughout this last year. And it's really great to see all of the recognition that people are seeing that we've done, but not about you and me, but about how we've created a forum for people to commiserate with each other and then learn from each other and then find success together over the past year. That to me is meaningful, that we're able to be a conduit to improve people's lives.
And really to find out, what am I doing? Is it right? Is it wrong? Am I behind the curve or in front of the curve? Is my hotel doing it right? Like, oh, you know what? I don't know how to bring back my employees during COVID. How is everybody else doing it? What is, how do you do revenue management during COVID? There's so many things, and what I'm hearing a lot of is when we talk about leadership and entrepreneurship, that seems to be what people really gravitate towards. So we need to do more of those shows.
Yeah. And speaking of, trying to be an entrepreneur and stuff, hey, why not plug the book? The Adapters, Sean Worker and myself over here created this book. It's right now on Amazon.com.
Never tell me why. Like, what is in the book that's going to teach me something?
Well, it teaches you how to think differently. A lot of people are used to doing things the same old way, and they don't necessarily have the tools to understand how they could re-engage with themselves to think differently, act differently, and then find success differently. So by going through this, you learn all these success stories that people in travel tourism and hospitality have done, but not just as a model to understand that they've done cool things, but to really understand the thinking process that went behind it and how they tackled particular problems, and then how you could use that formula to create success in your own life.
You know, you can even name the book "I Took a Chance," right? Because everybody in there took a chance, and that's
Yeah.
what it was. It's not so much I would imagine thinking differently. It's a matter of taking the chance of the thing you're thinking about, right? And they just took the chance.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. And yeah, things always change for the good. And I found one of the lessons that I've learned over this last year, Anthony, is that when bad things happen, it usually winds up leading to good things. In fact, all of the real tragedies or complications I've had in my life have all opened up the doors for new areas of success, as long as you are paying attention and know how to deal with it.
Yeah, listen, the power of maybe. Maybe the pandemic was a good thing for your business. Maybe it was a bad thing, and it's just maybe. Just keep going. And you know, we know the pandemic was horrible. It was tragic. But you know, maybe there's something good that comes out of it afterwards. So,
Yeah.
all right. So let's get on with the show.
Let me do a seamless segue. You know, one of the things that happened over the last year, Anthony, as we were dealing with this COVID crisis, is I was really worried that we wouldn't put as much emphasis on the environment, that Earth Day would wind up becoming a thing of the past, that we'd focus on disposable plastics and stuff like that, and not giving back to communities, not helping people to find ways to improve their lives. And that's why Jessica Blotter, I think, started The Kind Traveler, and we got her here right now. Jessica, it's so great to see you. Happy Earth Day.
Thank you, guys. Thanks so much for having me as part of your show. Happy Earth Day to you.
Yes,
All right, so,
favor. Just make believe you didn't see me drink that water from the plastic bottle.
okay.
You're too much, Anthony.
It's reusable plastic, though. He's been using that same bottle all year long, so it's okay. So don't worry about it. Jessica, welcome to the show. All right, so we have never featured you on before, and I have a feeling that even though you have over 200,000 people, I think, on your mailing list about people that want to do some sort of good, have some sort of learning experience, and be focused on sustainability when they travel, tell us a little bit about your company. What is Kind Traveler, and what motivated you to create something so interesting and I'll say auspicious?
Oh, thank you for that. So, you know, Kind Traveler, we launched actually in 2016 as the world's first socially conscious give and get hotel booking and media platform that empowers travelers to positively impact the communities that they visit. And the way it works is through a simple give and get booking model where travelers will unlock exclusive hotel rates and perks when they give a $10 nightly donation to a locally vetted charity that positively impacts the community that they're visiting. And through that transaction, 100% of donations go back to charity, which creates a triple win amongst the hotel, the traveler, and the charity. And the reason this whole idea came to life actually was from a vacation that I took to Belize with my co-founder. And we were there to see the Mayan ruins and go caving and sort of do the things you think of when you go to Belize. But instead, we saw a lot of poverty. We saw a lot of emaciated dogs roaming the streets, which is quite common in certain countries. And we saw, you know, families living in shacks next to polluted swamps. And for us, we had a really hard time turning a blind eye to what we saw and, you know, simply just get excited about our trip. You know, we had this deep desire to know somehow, like, how can we give back? How can we know that our travel dollars are actually supporting this destination and making it better? And we were, you know, and still are animal rescue volunteers. And we had an experience down there where we decided to feed the dogs. So we got off the bus, these, you know, emaciated dogs approach you begging for food. And we went into the local store, simply bought dog food, walked out, fed the dogs. And when we looked up, all the other travelers that were on the bus with us were walking out with the dog food as well. Aww. So we had unintentionally inspired a bunch of people to get involved in this small act of giving back. And then when we got back on the bus, the entire sentiment had really shifted from this sense of hopelessness, helplessness, to a little bit of joy and happiness, knowing that we tried to make things better in some small way. And so that feeling stayed with us for a long time as we thought, you know, how could we use our entrepreneurial skills, our passion for travel, to make it easy for travelers to give back to the places that they love and want to make better. And so that was the catalyst. And then over many years of development, we launched Kind Traveler into the world.
And doesn't Belize have a commitment to go green by the year, I think 2025? Don't they have a big green initiative? Because when I was down there, I did a show, I think Extreme Hotels, and it seemed that they were very concentrated. I think it was concentrated on being green. Am I correct in that?
I'm sorry, I missed that. Are you talking about the country of Belize?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, of course, like there are many countries adopting different sustainability initiatives, of course, but they look different, depending on what destination you're going to. And in fact, because of the pandemic, more destinations are adopting sustainable travel principles, and Kind Traveler is certainly helping them to unfold those in different ways, which I'm sure we'll talk about later.
Yeah, we will. I'll tell you this, because I went to Haiti once, and I saw what you are talking about. The poverty was so outrageous that I didn't even have the tools really or wherewithal to understand it. And I felt a sense of confusion and sorrow and a feeling that I couldn't do anything. There was nothing that I could do for any meaningful help. That's why I like what you're doing, because it's not about one person making a lot of change. It's about taking little bites out of it, one step at a time, by giving back through this community, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, before Kind Traveler, you would turn to maybe something like voluntourism, but not everybody wants to volunteer on their trip. They might not want to, they might not have the time to. And the other option would be just to simply suffer through what's called traveler's guilt, which is an actual real thing. Right. I think most of us probably do when we witness some sort of despair. And as a traveler, we want to leave destinations better than before we arrived. And how do you do that besides beyond, committing to no plastic, beyond supporting local operators and, local businesses that support your same values? How do you go beyond that? And so there is this need to give back, and Kind Traveler is making it easy to do that in a very meaningful way that will actually measure your impact, which we can talk about later. But every donation is actually measured, so the exact type of impact that $10 donation is going to make. And it goes a really long way. It can, if you donate to a local food bank, it might provide 40 nutritious meals to in-need individuals, or it might help clean up 250 pounds of trash out of a local waterway with an environmental group. And so that's another thing that's very unique. Is how
it should almost be mandated, right? It should almost be mandated that some money goes to that kind of volunteerism. It's something that we all look at and we turn a blind eye because we're on vacation, and we all walked away from it. And so it should almost, it would make me happy if I knew some of my dollars were going to the local area, and if it was mandated, I'd be okay with that.
Well, Anthony, you said the word happy, right? So giving back actually evokes a psychological response in your brain, releasing dopamine and oxytocin, that actually makes you feel happier, healthier, and more connected. And I always say, that is the perfect storm for the traveler that wants to have a meaningful, purpose-driven travel experience. What better way to fill up your heart with joy and purpose than to give back?
But what if I don't want to have a trip that's filled with purpose, but I still want to feel like I'm doing my own thing? Because I've worked hard all year and I deserve that week off, and I don't necessarily want to have that in my face, but I still want to consider myself a good human being and do something to help. Share a little bit about how you got involved with these resorts and how that money works and all of those kind of little bit of nuances.
Yeah, so we have distribution currently in 22 countries, with a few of those countries coming on board in the next couple weeks. Just onboarded 9 of the 6 census properties, all in countries that we're currently not in currently. So places like Oman and the Seychelles and Portugal. So that's super exciting. But right now we're mostly, especially in this pandemic year, have been really focused on domestic U.S. travel. We do also have Mexico, we have Caribbean, Costa Rica, Belize, Guatemala. scattering in the Maldives currently, and Italy and Paris right now. But we're definitely a growing and evolving platform. We have 70 charity partners that are all aligned with what's called the United Nations Global Goals for Sustainable Development.
Right.
So all of our impact goals are really rounded around advancing environmental sustainability, impacting communities, reducing inequality. So we have lots of ways to give back, but the real unique special sauce is that locally vetted charity in each community. And because that really is the definition of sustainable travel, is travel that makes an impact in the host destination as it relates to the community, environment, and the economy.
Right.
So Jessica, when you were a young girl, what was your first moment that you felt impacted by this, where you saw something and you were like, I want to do better? Was it a family member? Was it something you saw in school? What was your first kind of, clue that this was something you wanted to take part in?
Yeah, great question. I started my career as an earth science teacher, and I have my master's in education. And I taught at a school that was for students of, very underprivileged backgrounds, high-risk students. And basically, if they went through this program, they had a chance of getting into the University of California school program. But it was working with these kids. At the same time, I was teaching earth science, and we were, learning about the biodiversity and the importance of, protecting the rainforest, the importance of, all these animals that are going extinct. In fact, right now there's 1 billion animal and plant species currently at risk of extinction.
Jeez.
Yeah. And, the climate crisis is actually the largest threat to the tourism industry. But really, it was, these early experiences as, learning and unfolding. I was a biology major. And so I was studying the delicate natural world. In fact, one of my very first jobs in high school, I worked at this little gift store that was all about like protecting the environment and the earth. And so I was having these experiences as a very, a young teenager, and it really just evolved. I always had that passion. But, after I was a teacher, I spent 10 years as an associate publisher working in print and digital magazines. I was working with startups. It's really where I also found my heart for entrepreneurship. And but I wasn't completely fulfilled. I was really missing my deep purpose of giving back in a meaningful way to the planet and to animals. And I'm a huge animal welfare advocate. And so I wanted to really connect all of those dots. And I saw a huge gap in the travel industry that really, 1 in 10 people are employed. It's a $9 trillion a year GDP. It has an enormous potential to be a force for good if it's managed correctly, if it's sustainable. And so it's just such an important industry. It's the world's largest service industry. It has so much potential to do good. And, if we don't protect the places that we love, we really don't have tourism.
Right.
And one of the reasons I asked you that question is because it seems like this is your soul, right? This is what you want to do. This is what you want when you're done off of this. You want this to be your accomplishment.
Legacy, yeah.
And what I love is that you're linking guys like me and Glenn and other people that travel. That we're good guys. We want to do well, but our soul is not in it. Like I don't wake up in the morning and say I want to save the planet. Right? It's something I would love to say I want to do, but it's not. It's something that's important, but it is not my top priority. So taking someone like you that's your top priority and taking people who want to do good, that's the biggest gap, because most people want to do good and most people want to volunteer, but just make it easy for us and tell us what to do.
Yeah, you know what, Anthony, you said it right. In fact, that's actually one of the biggest challenges in the industry. Like 72% of travelers actually want to do good when they travel. They want to know where their travel dollars might be doing some good, but half of them don't know how, and a third find it confusing. And so that actually is exactly the challenge that Kind Traveler is aiming to solve, to make it easy and create a pathway of doing good in communities.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You need to make it easy to do the right thing, right? Mm-hmm. So for something very basic and simple, like not using plastic straws, you have to actively choose not to do that. But if a company decides to have paper straws, and you can feel like you're doing the right thing and contributing, and not have to take the active approach. Allow the hotels experiences to guide you along the way to do it. Jessica, I'd love for you, since you're an animal activist, could you make me feel less bad about having 4 cats living in this house with me? That would be
Oh yeah, I can definitely make you feel less bad about that. I think that should be a normal. I think that people should adopt animals because 1 million animals die in shelters every single year, maybe even more, simply because they don't have a home. Dogs and cats, healthy dogs and cats. And so I think that, Glenn, it should be a norm to adopt, 4, 5, 6. I have 8 animals, by the way. So a chicken, a turkey. And
you have one of these?
I wish I had one of those, but no, unfortunately I don't.
Since I adopted Glenn,
what was that, Anthony? Try it again.
I adopted Glenn. Does that count?
It could be like, potentially.
Right. What's cool is that you could actually choose a resort based on the local charity that they participate in. So I think that's really great because it shows not only one that the hotel wants to give back, but it's allowing the user to say, hey, I want to participate in a company that's helping XYZ organization, right?
Yeah, that's right. Because the hotels are, we select the charities based off of what we call community-based decision. The hotels are on the ground in that destination. They know what charities are important. And 90% of the time, they're already working with charities in some way. Mm-hmm. So they're leading those decisions. Sometimes the tourism board will weigh in, Kind Traveler weighs in to make sure that they're a good match for the platform. And basically what happens is that, just to give an example, in Belize, we had this full circle moment where we were working with a resort down there, Ka'ana Resort, mm-hmm. and they chose a local charity. It's called the Cayo Animal Welfare Society. Mm-hmm. And it was just this wonderful full circle moment. $10 will provide 2 months of care for a kitten that has been rescued. And so it was really a full circle moment for us to, finally have a partner in Belize and really solve the need that was so apparent to us when we had visited. So
that's great. So tell me a little bit about how you think sustainability is going to fit into the resurgence of travel as we're coming back. One area that I find is complicated was that whole notion in 2019 that we're really digging deep into was over tourism. Places like Venice, places like Amsterdam, we're starting to feel the crush from being so successful as tourism destinations that they weren't only ruining the cities, but also potentially the ecosystem that surrounded them. So how now, as tourism comes back, we can be sustainable in a smart way that puts money in people's pockets, boosts tourism, and helps protect our lands.
Yeah, absolutely. So the pandemic created a pause, and that pause gave a lot of folks in the travel industry a chance to pause and reflect on that which was already broken before COVID-19. Like you said, over tourism, plastic, water pollution, so many things. And so the idea right now is, in order to create a shift that's needed, something I love that's happening in this space is that 6 sustainable tourism nonprofits came together and created what's called the Future of Tourism Coalition. And it's led by, I think, 13 principles that can help guide the industry back in a way that considers a different set of values. That's the key. So things like quality of guest over quantity of guest. Things like how many renewable resources and renewable energy are we using? What's the investment to protect marine and land assets? How many local people are we employing? So it's a new set of success metrics that's actually required to build back in a responsible way, and to take a second to look at what was broken and realize that we have a chance to kind of work towards fixing it. And
so,
yeah.
What are some of the steps that hoteliers out there can immediately take to start changing the ship? One of the biggest issues we have right now is where everyone's using all these disposable products. And Anna is saying many aren't as bored as they should be. In particular, with go-to options from in-house restaurants, nearly everything is in styrofoam now, it seems. And I felt like that was a real step backwards from where we are. And keep moving forward. So what are some of the keys to success that you could offer folks right now?
Well, you know, on the plastics front, you actually can buy plant-based plastics. And I don't know if a lot of people know about that, but they break down, they don't cause the waste associated with plastic. And it might cost a little bit more, but it would definitely help during this period of time when many, local laws are requiring these takeout plastic materials. So it's kind of hard to get around that, but the hotels could definitely be investing in plastic that is made from plants and compostable. So that could definitely be a pathway there. But because the conversation of sustainability can be so very overwhelming, I certainly would recommend looking at these, principles guided by the Future of Tourism Coalition, for example. Start there. And pick a couple that at the hotel that you resonate with that might be low-hanging fruit for you to accomplish. And then think about how you can embed them into your DNA so that sustainability comes from the ground up versus just an add-on. Because you want your internal and external communication to be grounded in that versus just an add-on thing that is just a project. And so it's going to look different for every single hotel, but considering some of the metrics I shared earlier, I think that those are really wonderful places to start, and to baby steps are okay at the end of the day with this conversation. Right. It's important that we're just moving forward.
So Glenn, I actually got a question for you.
Yeah. Oh,
you're completely connected into all the brands, right? You even more than I am, and we know that most hotels are either managed owned by brands, or at least influenced by brands. How do you think the brands are doing? Because if they really focus on this, it changes the game in tourism, because the brands basically run 80% of these hotels. So how do you think the brands are doing?
So kind of in the same way that whatever California does, the rest of our country seems to have to follow. Just look at like fuel emissions and stuff like that. They really took a very strong position on that and affected change throughout the entire country. And hotel brands absolutely have the right, have the ability to do that. We're seeing a lot of the major companies say that they have sustainability efforts, but I think during this last year, a lot of those kind of fell off. Now, I believe it was IHG that recently decided to make that one of the major tenets of the company. And a lot of the other hotel companies that are doing that as well. And they're not just doing it because they love the environment, they think it's the right thing to do, but they understand that appealing to their customers that are interested in these issues and doing the right thing will get them more business. So I've always said, don't say go green for the sake of the environment, make a business case for it, and that will bring everybody along, help the environment, and create a win-win situation. During the last upturn, we saw a lot of it. It all kind of went on pause, but I guarantee going forward, once everyone gets their sea legs back and the industry is stable, we're going to see a lot more of it as a competitive advantage. Jessica, you've been nodding a lot. Yes.
No, I'm just like 100%, Glenn. In fact, about 92% of consumers expect brands to be active participants in solving social environmental issues. There certainly is a business case behind this. And it's really expected of today's brands to take leadership on this subject. You will build customer loyalty by doing it. You'll also have a different story to tell. You can't talk about strawberry daiquiris by the pool and the new renovation of your bathroom all day long. People are hungry for a more meaningful, purposeful conversation. You have to give it to them.
Right. Even when you look at like farm to table cuisine, that was kind of a step forward to me, because a lot of the companies that they partnered with are doing things the right way. They're focusing more on organics. They're focusing on not bringing strawberries 2,500 miles just so you could have that particular luxury in that case. And they're communicating that story, as you just said, and it really creates something that engages customers in, I think, a better, more heightened way.
And also, when you're signing a corporation, they're looking for green initiatives in the hotel, or a lot of corporations won't even stay at your hotel. But also from the training perspective, there's one thing to have recycling, there's one thing to have composting, there's one thing to really, concentrate the policy on that. But it's another thing in training. Why? We don't do a good job in our industry of the why. I'll give you an example, completely different than sustainability. I was at a hotel, really big hotel. We had a lot of pools, and the director of aquatics just did not feel that people were paying attention to the safety, that it was everybody's job, not only the lifeguards, but everyone's job. So she put a training together, and she showed us a video that changed everything. You saw immediately everybody getting on board. And I won't even tell you the video, it was so upsetting. But everybody in that universe, in that hotel, completely focused on safety in every aspect, not just pool safety. It was just that one video changed the entire hotel. And I think if we're talking about sustainability, we're talking about farm to table, we're talking about why not plastic, we've got to show people why. We got to make them care, Jessica, as much as you care, because you can talk to you blue in the face. Unless you tell me why I should care, I'm not going to care.
Right.
Yeah. And that's, I think, leaning into the feel good aspect of, what we're doing with Kind Travel, I think is so important because, when, especially as it relates to giving back, there's a lot of feel good efforts. But I think that education is such a big, powerful piece to this too, because if you just don't know the impacts of your actions, it's hard to make a change. But once you become aware, I think that it's really easy to make conscious decisions to do better and to, for example, just, bring your own water bottle on your trip and say no to refuse plastic along the whole journey. Like, you can do that. And I think there's a feel-good component to being a good steward of the planet. It is our planet. We need to protect it. That should be motivating enough for people to want to get behind it. It's not, Anthony?
But it's not. And that's why we got to show people why, because it's not. I think you've seen it in the last year. They made it a political football. It's not, and we've got to show people how it affects their children, how it affects. And so when I'm running a hotel, if I'm going to take on this initiative, we were the first green hotel in New York City, the Westin Hotel. And I remember the team really did a lot of training on why we're doing this, not just because we want to get more corporations into the hotel for groups, because they're thinking about green. So again, you can want people to care, but we've got to show them why. And I think you're doing that. And I think, I applaud you, and I wish there were more people like you. But when you're training and you're doing this in hotels, I just implore people to show people why and why they should care and how it affects them.
Yeah. Good point.
Jessica, producer Suzanne reminded me about Clean the World. I know Sean Seipler started that organization, and they're doing a great job. This is one of those passive things that simply by using your soap, I know Hilton, a lot of Hilton's brands are in this particular program, and simply by using that bar of soap in Hilton, you're actually helping save real lives. I know that children's charities are a big cornerstone of this. It's not just about sustainability for you, but it's about, making sure that children are healthy. I love what he's doing over there because he's really bringing great hygiene, which is helping them reduce medical costs, improve quality of life, and saving lives as well. Do you know them at all? Do you work with them? It sounds like they might be a good people to partner with.
Are you referring to Clean the World?
I am. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, we don't work directly with them, but a lot of our hotels do. And if they do, we'll celebrate their logo on the profile of the hotel when we, have their Kind hotel profile up. We encourage, obviously working, the thing is sustainability cannot be carried out in isolation. You must create partnerships in order to achieve it. So any partnership that can help you achieve it, whether it's Clean the World or 1% for the Planet, or partnering with an organization like the Center for Responsible Travel, known as CREST. These are all wonderful organizations that can help you advance your sustainability initiatives.
Right.
What's the one thing, if I can, Ryan, what's the one thing that today everybody listening could do today to start impacting in a good way the world? Like, what's the one thing, baby steps?
I mean, I think that the simple idea of, thinking about how every single action is either going to help or hurt the planet. So this idea of voting with your dollars, of, for me, to make this easy, I like to do what's called looking through a lens of kindness. And the lens of kindness for us is broken up into 4 quadrants. And it's considering the environment, communities, animal welfare, and my own wellness. Because there's a lot of research around, how can I be a good steward of the planet when I'm not, fulfilled in nature? So spending time in nature can actually raise your consciousness level so that you actually want to care more about the environment. So, people have been cooped up for months and burn out on Zoom and social isolation. I would say, get out in nature so that you can fill up your cup with the natural world and the beauty that surrounds, and maybe be inspired to protect it in a deeper way.
Yeah, and that's a good, if you're in New York and you're hearing this, if you haven't been to Gateway National Park, which no one thinks about, and really a lot of people don't even know we have this great national park in New York, Gateway National Park is a great way to do that. I do that from time to time. I'll walk, pick up the old bottle glass, or it's a great bird watching place. I'm not a bird watcher, but there's great birds there. You can go kayaking under the bridges. It's just an incredible park. So I'm going to take your advice this weekend.
I love that. That's perfect.
I'm going to beat Anthony to it, because right after this, I'm going to go for a little hike in this amazing park that I have right over there and refresh my soul a little bit. Now, we're getting people want to do the right thing. They want to help. And Michael Weinberg is asking, hey, Jessica, do people have to book on your website? If so, is there a way to make it more of a seamless process? How does the whole process of participating work for you?
Yeah, I mean, as a traveler, you do book through Kind Traveler's website. The final booking actually does land on the reservation page of our hotel partners. So it is a direct booking. But in order to access our rates and perks, you have to give a donation first, which we collect and distribute. And then then basically that unlocks your rate, and then you book directly with the hotel with that Kind Traveler exclusive rate in place. So it is pretty easy, seamless process. When you book, you'll see exactly the impact of your $10 donation. And there's lots of education to be found on the site in terms of why that is important, the charities, how they do the work that they do. So you can really educate yourself and make an informed decision when it comes to giving back.
Excellent. That is fantastic. All right, we got another question here from our friend Mike McManus. Do you feel a better balance of showcasing positive impacts by using sustainable or all natural products versus the negative impacts of what we are doing wrong? I like that approach, sticking to the positive instead of calling people out and making them feel better. Instead of making people feel worse, I mean.
Yeah, 100%. I wasn't sure exactly what the question was, but just in terms of
more about how do you frame things positively so it seems like you're doing good as opposed to seeming like you're taking away.
Yeah, I mean, people don't want to be guilted, but right. I think that it all comes back to education. Here are the facts. Let's talk about the facts that exist. But for us, we really always want to motivate and inspire people about the type of impact that they can have before they even get on the plane or get in the car. They're going to know exactly what they're doing. And so I love that aspect of it, but we're always trying to inspire and to empower. Those are the core pillars of our brand, empowering travelers to make a positive impact. So we're always leading with that, and certainly, encourage other travel brands to always, lead with that as well, to really motivate people.
Right. That's beautiful. Anthony, you got something else, my friend? You're muted.
You can't read lips, Glenn.
I can, but I wanted you to be able to speak out, No,
I'm just listening and learning, and I'm just glad there's people like Jessica on Earth.
So, Jessica, what are some of the sustainable trends that you're seeing coming down the pike? What is going to stick? What is fad? Separate trends for us, if you can.
Yeah, there's a couple trends I definitely see. So I think in the future, impact travel can be a pathway to regenerate communities, and will be a pathway. So impact travel is really what we're doing. When you look at sustainable tourism, there's lots of different words underneath sustainable tourism. So things like regenerative, slow travel, conscious travel, mindful, etc., responsible. But impact travel is really about, how can you use your time, talent, or treasure, as in donations, to make a positive impact. I think that becomes really important when you look at the pandemic. 60 million people are on the brink of extreme poverty globally, according to the World Bank. And so things like impact travel all of a sudden become really important as we, rebuild back communities because of the devastation of the pandemic on communities specifically, but also because as the world becomes more aware of climate change and the climate crisis, there is more motivation to talk about low carbon travel, no carbon travel. And so we're, decisions that will help make it easy for travelers to make those decisions for impact and carbon neutrality. So another trend I see is kind of leading from that is that plant-based travel is actually coming back very strong right now. There's a lot of plant-based hotels, plant-based menus that restaurants are adopting, plant-based restaurants.
You talk about more focused on vegetarian and vegan cuisines.
Yeah, but the reason is because when you look at the livestock sector, it's responsible for 15% of all global greenhouse gases. When you look at travel industry, it's 8% of all global greenhouse gases. So just by adopting and eating more plant-based foods, you can actually help the planet in a really big way when it comes to reducing carbon emissions.
That is absolutely true. But to help ameliorate some of that problem, I'm hearing about technology that can actually harness the power of cow farts to create electricity, which sounds a little crazy, but they're doing that now with garbage dumps, for example. The methane, or our European sense would say methane, comes up. They capture that, then they could burn that for fuel and create they could create electricity for it. Yes, folks back there, I did go for cow farts because it is a big, serious problem. And that's why we try to go vegetarian a few days a week here in our house, because it is so important, not only for your health, but for the environment. I think, Jessica, it's really hard for us to get out of that meat eating habit because our American culture in particular has so focused on that. The meat producers and factory farming have made it such that it's almost impossible to avoid meat unless you make a really good conscious effort at every meal. Back to what you were saying with hotels, they just need to have better options when it comes to vegetarian cuisines, I think.
And it's what consumers are expecting. They want to see plant-based menus. And so you need to meet your customers. There's a reason why some of the biggest investors in the world, from Bill Gates to Richard Branson, have invested in plant-based companies, because it really is, a shift that's going to happen in the future, not only to help carbon emissions and global greenhouse gases, but also for animal welfare, also to end suffering on the planet in a big way.
Yep. Anthony?
I'm fascinated by the conversation.
Yes. Excellent.
No, I had a question, actually. I asked you that I have a question and I forgot my question. Oh, I know my question. Jessica, what frustrates you the most in doing what you do? What is the thing that you're always challenged with?
There's so many things, but so I think that it can be really challenging because I feel like we're always educating, having to educate hotels, and I feel like it's getting better. Like in the very beginning, it was like, what are you doing, and why is this important? It's changed, right? Like it's becoming more and more valuable. But it just seems like there's still a lot of education that needs to be absorbed by the larger part of, what the travel industry, but also, on the consumer side. If people, knew the education, knew the facts, I think that they would make different decisions. And so we just, we find ourselves in a continual a state of educating the why. And it's like, once you know the why, it seems so apparent to want to make change, but sometimes it feels like it can be such a struggle to convince otherwise.
Because people put you in a box and say, you're just, you're just a vegan or tree hugger or whatever, disparaging thing they say, and they just they almost typecast you, right? It's like, oh yeah, okay, whatever, because you live that life. And I always find that fascinating. And it's like, I always try to keep an open mind to everything. I'm not going to live the life that you live. I'm just, I live a different life. But the things you're saying is helping me really kind of reassess the way I go about my business, because I really, especially the last year, I haven't cared as much because I'm just trying to keep my family safe. I'm trying, we're all trying to keep a roof over our heads. And we all just got, and I don't mean this in a bad way, bigger problems right now. We have what's in front of us right now. And I think coming out of this, we all got to go back and reset and say, hey, we saw a lot of plastics being used because of buffets were gone. And just even in the airlines and even in the sky lounges that I go to, like there's a lot of plastic going on. And now we've got to reset and say, okay, why is it important?
Mm-hmm. And it's easy to be overwhelmed by that. So it's literally just baby steps, and you can just take very, small steps, pick one thing that, you feel drawn to or passionate about and just commit to that. And it doesn't have to be hard, but I appreciate you saying that. And I think that, once we're able to just, sustainability, like I was saying before, I mean, maybe it's just like connecting with nature and just doing something that connects you back to the why. And because we haven't done that, most of us, for a long time, I think that there's just so much value as, a starting place to reconnect to what's beautiful and profound in the world.
Right. And we need to do something because there's this garbage patch in the Pacific Ocean that I think is the size of Texas floating out there, which is incredibly scary. Now, you've focused a lot on certain destinations. I got Costa Rica behind me, a country that I really want to go and experience one day. But you're always thinking about adding new destinations. You've got great partners that are out there from organizations like Sonoma County, Visit California, the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel Island, for example. What other destinations are you thinking about in the future, and how are you making inroads with all these different destinations to come and join the Kind Traveler program?
Yeah, well, some of our destination partners, like Visit California, for example, is a brand new partner. We haven't even rolled that one out yet. That's why it's coming soon on our website. But I'm so excited. In the coming months, we're going to be activating. There's over 150 plus destinations within just the state of California alone. And so as we work through this partnership, really kind of diving deep into hyper local within the state. And I feel that, once we have a kind state model in place, we can easily take that to other states. And so the Visit California partnership is very important to us as being the very first kind state as a pathway to, create sustainability with other states and countries as we grow. But I think it's all about starting in your backyard, and that's where we're based. And so, that's what we're really passionate about right now. We're going to be investing a good part of our time into in this next year. But of course, onboarding other places and destinations as well. But we'll definitely have a lot of focus just within, really proving a model for sustainability that we can take out into the world. You have to start in one place first. Yeah.
So this is the part of our show where we have a quiz, and we're going to quiz Glenn. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to give you a question, and you give me, an answer. It's very easy, Glenn. Even you can handle it. The top 5 greenest countries in the world. Give me 3.
Greenland?
Nope. Nope.
Finland. I feel like the Scandinavians are good at.
Keep going.
Norwegians? Norway?
Nope. 3 you failed. Jessica, can you give me 1 or 2?
I would say New Zealand.
Yep.
Ooh, good one.
Iceland.
Yep. Say she wins, you lose. And also United Kingdom, which really was surprising. Denmark, Switzerland. Yeah, I was pretty surprised by United Kingdom.
Wow. Yeah, New Zealand makes a whole lot of sense to me. They do a great job with all of that type of stuff, and they really appreciate the incredible natural habitat that they have as well.
The greenest country in the world is actually New York City.
Yes, yes, which is strange. People don't realize that, but it's so densely populated, and the mass transit is so good that people rely on mass transit as opposed to getting in their cars. They take buses a lot. They take the subways a
Yeah,
lot.
but that's so funny you say that, because I was just joking. But
It's
the subway is there's only 23% ridership from 2019 numbers, and everybody's using their cars because they're afraid of the subway and the buses. So there's a big campaign here in New York City to get people back in mass transit.
Yes, but it was actually doing pretty good as far as typical cities go because of our infrastructure there. LA, they've got a lot more to deal with because they're much more of a driving type of universe that's out there. All right. Steve is saying, hey, what about food waste in terms of sustainability efforts? Now, Jessica, I don't know how much you focus on this, but a lot of the Las Vegas casinos, for example, they'll take a lot of their food waste, they'll get it out to pig farms, they'll do that sort of a thing, right? How are you seeing this issue as it pertains to Kind Traveler?
Yeah, I mean, food waste is definitely a really big topic within sustainability. And so we certainly advocate that if a hotel does engage in food waste recycling efforts, we'll certainly celebrate that on their microsite. So, when you go on a Kind Traveler and you look at the different hotels, the way we tell the hotel story is about what efforts specifically they have in place to advance wellness, environmental sustainability, and community impact. And so that's sort of our lens at looking at it on the platform. And we do have many hotels that have incredible efforts to mitigate food waste, which is certainly a big part of the conversation, as well as, and how it relates to global greenhouse gas emissions as well.
Right. Michelle is saying food waste as fertilizer. I like that idea as well. A lot of great ideas that we're seeing out there. Jessica, I think we're starting to come to the end. Is there any topic that we missed that you feel that we should mention?
We covered so much ground, guys. I mean, we really did. I'm so grateful for your passion around this subject and just for asking so many great questions and kind of, flipping some stuff around and bringing to light in a different way than, sometimes we talk about. So I really appreciate your enthusiasm, and I'm here if anybody has any questions that they'd like to ask, but I feel like we covered a good amount of ground today.
We didn't cover one important thing.
Okay.
Hoteliers out there that own or operate properties and they're interested in participating in this program and learning more, how can they connect with you and try to do the right thing by the world?
Thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, the easiest way, you can email us through our website, kindtraveler.com. If you want to send me an email, I get emails at hello@kindtraveler.com. It's just the easiest one to remember. Of course, you can always connect with us on all of our social channels. Instagram was one of our main channels, Twitter, Facebook as well, YouTube. But I would say, get on our newsletter and you'll start to see the story of sustainability unfold and, the emotional response that it will evoke in you and other people. I think it's really exciting. So just, become part of it, reach out. I'd love to talk to anyone who might be interested in learning more. I'd be happy to share more.
What's one thing we could all do in our private lives that can help get us started down the path of being more conscientious of the world around us?
I asked that question, but Glenn doesn't pay attention. That's okay.
Oh, come on.
I mean, there's so many things. I mean, I always go back to looking through that lens of kindness, but that may be too vague.
Is it like maybe we should just stick to that meatless Mondays routine? Maybe
I think that is so simple because we have to start with baby steps, right? Meatless Mondays is a wonderful way to just start one day of the week. And don't think that by eating that way is a sacrifice. Over the years, like the brands have evolved so much when it comes to creating, meatless menus and options. So it's definitely not a sacrifice. I think that would be a really wonderful place to start. You could also just go visit a rescue animal sanctuary. I think that's a great place to just see, how often we're all living in cities. We don't connect with cows and pigs and chickens and turkeys. But we should, because it connects us to, a part of the world that I think it's important to understand. the emotions of these creatures. And that's a simple thing you can do with your family, and it can be fun. But just connecting back to the natural world, I think, is a theme here. And I think that's just really important in general.
Yeah, it's interesting. My daughter, we go up to the country every year, and every morning before everybody really starts their day, I take my nieces and nephews and my kids, and now they're all 18, 19, 20, but we still do it. And we get up early and we just drive around, and we just find different places we haven't seen before. So this one day, about 10 years ago, my daughter, we went to a farm and she saw a bunch of cows, and we got up close to the farm. It was really early in the morning. And the next week, I found that my daughter just says that she's a vegan. And okay, so now my daughter's 21, she's still a vegan. And I said to her, just because I had no idea why, and I said, you know what, whatever happened that you went from, just eating meat to being a vegan? She goes, remember when you took me to see the cows? And I said, yeah. She goes, that was the day. She goes, I bonded with them. And I never knew that until recently.
No way. I love that you just shared that story.
Yeah, it's true.
That's amazing. I mean, there's, I think in New York, you have Farm Sanctuary, you have here in LA, you have the Gentle Barn. There are just these incredible organizations you can just go visit and spend the whole day there. And I think it'll change your life. And
yeah, and I didn't even know that, because she didn't make a big statement about it. Actually, she's a vegetarian, and she didn't make a big statement about it. She's just like, and we were like, okay, whatever. Be you. And we thought it would wear off in a week or 2 or 3 or 4. Here it is. She's almost 22 years old, and she's still a vegetarian. I thought that was very interesting.
That's amazing. I love that story. I'm so glad you shared that.
Beautiful. Jessica, thank you so much, not just for being here today, but everything that you're doing out there. It's such an amazing thing. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Glenn and Anthony. It's just such a pleasure to be here. I appreciate you and your enthusiasm, and thanks so much for having me as part of the show.
Thanks for making every day Earth Day. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye.
You sound like a 12-year-old kid. Thank you for making.
I get so delighted. You know how I get, dude.
You're so sweet. You're so sweet.
There's nothing I like more when somebody comes on that we don't know, and she's one of the few people that we don't know, and just really gets us jazzed and excited and educates and makes us feel a little bit empowered too.
I'm sure there's a lot more than a few people we don't know, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
we're focused on the hotel business, but. And I meant before I said Belize, I meant Costa Rica. If you go to Costa Rica, the Green Initiative in Costa Rica is just insane.
Yep.
I mean, everything you do, especially if you're in the hotel business, is about sustainability, or you can't open your hotel. It is very enlightening. We did a show down there, maybe Extreme Hotels. And it was it was actually a Hotel Impossible show. And it was very enlightening to see really the commitment from the country on sustainability.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Any final thoughts? I think this is pretty much it. I got a final thought, Anthony. You ready for this one?
I am, sir.
Get our audio podcast, everybody. The audio version of this show available at Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and of course, wherever you prefer to get your podcast. And communicate with both myself and Anthony on social media. You see the addresses right there. So let's wrap this up. All right.
And I like how you didn't say shameless plug this time. You did it in a different way. I like that.
Thank you. You kind of mix it up.
I noticed it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Thanks for another incredible week. Every single week on the show, I'm amazed and blown away, but not only about the guests that we have on, but each and every one of you participating, helping us out, helping us enjoy a real sense of community that we've created over here for the past.
And I want to say something, because people ask me all the time, it's like, how much preparation goes into the show? How do you get the guests? And I want to, this is a learning experience, because we make fun of it all the time that our preparation is almost zero, because we just want to have a conversation. And this is a really good example of that. Come on, don't really know Jessica, don't really know what it's about. And just, we're curious guys and curious people, and try, and our guests ask, or our viewers ask curious questions. And all of a sudden you have a great show, simply because you don't come in with an agenda. You don't come in with a plan. You're just asking someone who's passionate about why they're passionate about it. And all of a sudden, an hour later, you're like, man, that was a good show.
Yep. And to be honest, we do, as what Anthony was saying, we don't really prepare, but we've been in the business a long time. we don't have to prepare for every single interview. We got 25, 30 years experience. So
No, but it's more than because we don't have experience in what she was talking about.
Right.
So it's really about, I guess what I'm trying to say is just about communicating to people in an open way.
Yeah.
And when you do that and you're open-minded and you don't come in with, biases, everything opens up. And I think we do that time after time. And it's really says a lot about our viewers who ask great questions and our guests who are really open. And I think what I find, I even saw it on Jessica's face a little bit, they're surprised by the questions. They're surprised by that we go a little deeper than just the boilerplate question. So I really enjoyed the show.
Yeah, I did too. So great. All right, we're gonna have to try to chop it next week, don't you think? But before we get to next week, we got Friday Night Audit tomorrow night at 5 Eastern, 2 p.m. right on the channels that you guys are watching it. Me and Craig Sullivan. We've got another great guest. We've got a guy named Glenn Moon with Twin Peaks, and we're going to be mixing drinks with some of the bartenders from Twin Peaks. So that should be a fun show. Have a great weekend, Anthony.
You too, my brother.
All right, everybody. Remember, you've got one life, so blaze on and
be kind to yourself.
be a kind traveler too.